Good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us. My name is Ryan Thorpe, Associate AD for Communications here at UIndy. We're all here, of course, to welcome our new men's basketball coach, Paul Corsaro. To introduce our new men's basketball coach, the honor will go to Mr. Scott Young. Scott has spent the last 26 years at UIndy as a student coach and administrator. He is currently a senior associate AD, but was recently named the next vice president for intercollegiate athletics following the retirement of Dr. Sue Willey later this year. So without further delay, we'll hand it over to Scott.
Thank you, Ryan. Today is a great day for UIndy and UIndy Athletics, with Paul Corsaro returning home to lead our men's basketball program. Paul checked all the boxes we were looking for in our next leader of UIndy men's basketball. He's very familiar with UIndy, being a two-time graduate, also a student athlete in both football and basketball. Paul was also an assistant coach during the resurgence of the men's basketball program under former head coach Stan Gerard. Paul was also very familiar with the city of Indianapolis, Paul being a graduate of Roncalli High School and also very connected to the Indianapolis community. Most importantly, Paul will carry out on the standards and expectations of UIndy Athletics, of our student athletes winning as students, winning as people, and winning as athletes. Please welcome the next head men's basketball coach at the University of Indianapolis, Paul Corsaro.
Scott, thank you very much. First off, I just want to thank Dr. Manuel, Scott Young, and Dr. Sue Willey for believing me and giving me this opportunity. I want to thank my support system. It starts with my parents, my sisters, my brother-in-law, my two beautiful nieces, and a very large extended family. It is such a privilege and honor to be back home, and UIndy is home. I love the University of Indianapolis, and I'm so excited to lead the men's basketball program moving forward. This is truly a dream come true.
Thank you very much, Paul. So now we'll go ahead and open it up for any questions.
All right, I'll go first. Coach Corsaro, what have you been doing during quarantine?
Well, I've been, when I was at Fort Wayne, I was doing a lot of recruiting. We were trying to sign our class up there. And then this position became vacant as quarantine began. So my focus shifted towards trying to land my dream job. And I was lucky enough to do that. But since getting this position, I've been really focused on our current student athletes, getting to know them. I was able to do a Zoom with the team, do an initial team meeting, get to meet everybody, set forth expectations. And then from there, I was able to do an individual meeting with every student athlete and their parents and really get to build that relationship, make everyone feel comfortable with the change, and talk about things moving forward. And that was awesome, just getting a chance to meet with everyone and talk and learn, get to know everybody on a personal level. So that's kind of what I've been focused on in the quarantine period.
Herschel, go ahead and introduce yourself too and what outlet you're from.
Okay, and how you doing, Coach? First of all, congratulations. I'm Herschel Taylor. I'm going to be the new sports director for WICR, the radio station here at University of Indianapolis. So I just wanted to say, welcome, and I look forward to working with and getting to work with you in the future. But my first question to you is, you kind of mentioned you've talked to the team already. What are going to be your expectations, going into your first season?
Well, first off, the expectations really of our program need to be in alignment with the university as a whole and with our athletic department. And those things aren't changing. Fortunately for me, I lived that as a student athlete. I was able to help guide student athletes in that as an assistant coach under Coach Gerard. So I have an understanding of what that is. And, as Scott Young said, we're going to win as students. We're going to win as people. We're going to win as athletes. And that's first and foremost the expectation. Winning will never be sacrificed for academics or character. All right. And like I said, if we focus on those three priorities in that order, I'm a firm believer that our success will be a byproduct of our daily process and focusing on those three priorities. But in terms of expectations on the court, I want our kids to play hard. That's the bottom line is, they bring it in terms of energy, in terms of effort, in terms of attitude every day. And then they play the hard and give their all. We're going to be in a great shape in terms of being able to compete at a high level. And my expectation is to win championships, GLVC championships. And I'm going to strive to bring home the first national championship for men's basketball.
All right, Jacob, I see you there. Go ahead.
Mr. Paul, I'm the sports editor for The Reflector, the student newspaper here on campus. And I just was kind of curious. You mentioned that being the head coach here was your dream job.
Yep.
Was coming back to UIndy to coach always the goal for you?
I mean, yes, obviously you never know if that's going to be a possibility. At a young age, I was working for a UIndy legend in Stan Gerard. And obviously, he was still at a young age and he was going to be here for as long as he wanted to be. And he had earned that right. So I always wanted that, but I had such respect and admiration for the program and Coach Gerard that I was happy for him and our program as long as he was here. I didn't know this was going to happen. But when it did, it was like, wow, I wasn't sure in my wildest dreams that this position would be open this early in my coaching career. So yes, it was my dream job. I wasn't sure when this opportunity was going to come, but I'm so thankful, so blessed that it came available and that I was able to be chosen for the position.
All right, Paul, this is Eddie. I'm current sports director at WICR again. So you mentioned how much it was a dream of you to come back to UIndy. What's it mean to come back and replace the guy you view as a role model for your coaching career?
Well, first off, I have incredibly huge shoes to fill, and I'm literally chasing greatness because that's all he did once he was here. He rose the program to new heights. But it's a privilege and it means a lot. The funny thing is, last night, obviously there was the announcement yesterday, and when I got done hanging out with my family, and it was a really special moment for me and my family. But when everybody else went to bed, I get a phone call from Coach Gerard, and he and I spent about 30 minutes on the phone telling each other, how we feel about each other. And he and I have a family relationship. I tell everybody all the time that he's filled several roles for me. He was my coach, then he was my boss. He's been a mentor, he's been a friend, and he literally has been family. And outside of my family, and everybody has those male influence they have. Yeah, no, my dad. Me and him are he's the closest person in my life. My dad is, we talk about everything. You got your grandfather, great uncles, but outside of family members, there's probably another person that I spent more time with or that I'm closer with than Coach Gerard. So this is truly an honor.
So you talked a little bit about, you talked to the team and everything. What are some of the strengths you're seeing in the UIndy team we have right now?
I think leadership, we have a really special senior leader in Corey Miller. And, he came in last year, and if you look at the statistics, he was one of the most efficient players in the country. He was surrounded with so many great players last year that, he had good numbers, but they didn't have the jump off the page numbers because you had Jimmy King, you had Marcus Latham, you had Trevor Lakes, and it was a really well-balanced team. And that's why they were so successful last year. But when you really break it down, 12 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, he shot over 50% from the field, and he was 50% from three. I mean, that's about as efficient as it gets. And, he's a versatile player with his size, with his strength and athleticism. He can really play 3 positions. He can play the 2, the 3, or even an undersized 4. I think he's best as a 2-3, but he can play 3 positions. I think he's tough enough to really guard everybody on the court. I think he can guard the positions that he guards. I think he's smart enough to guard a 1. I also think he's tough enough to go down there and guard a 5 if I need to put him down there. So having a guy like that as a senior, and, I'll be honest with you, when Scott Young told me that I was going to lead this program, and then he told our student athletes, the first person who reached out to me was Corey Miller. And I'm so thrilled to work with him because I see a lot of leadership qualities in him, and that's going to be really important to me, help him continue this strong tradition and culture. The other thing is just an expectation of winning. We have a bunch of returners, Jesse Bingham, Jacob Polakovich, D. Montgomery. You got a lot of guys that were around winning last year. They know what it takes. They know what it takes to win. And I think moving forward, Ben Nickerson played a lot of minutes as a freshman in pivotal roles. Being around a team that went 24-6, you know what that expectation is like. You know what it takes on a daily basis in terms of yielding success.
Coach, this is Phil from Fox 59 here in town. Quick question. With your connection to the South Side, your connection to the school, if you were able to lead this program to new heights, what would it mean to you, being that, you're a graduate of the school and have spent a lot of time on the South Side of Indianapolis?
I mean, it would mean everything. I went to Roncalli High School, played at University of Indianapolis in 2 sports. I'm very proud of being from Indianapolis, in particular the South Side. I know my 2 years in Fort Wayne, people in Fort Wayne got tired of me talking about Indianapolis. I love Indianapolis. And our university, the the special thing about it, you think about it, the University of Indianapolis, we bear our city's name, the capital of our state. And I'm very, very proud of my roots, where I come from. I come from a huge family, and I have a lot of friends in the area. And just it would be incredible to be able to accomplish New York. Now, it's not going to be easy because the program has been so steady and so accomplished as is. But like, that's our goal. That's our goal. Is my job is to come in here and try to take it to the next level, and it would be very special.
Hello, Coach. It's Olivia Christ here with the UIndy TV. And you did talk briefly about Purdue Fort Wayne. And what elements are you bringing from Purdue Fort Wayne to UIndy to ensure success going into the season?
Well, one thing I've learned about or the fortunate thing for me is the two bosses that I've worked for have been incredibly successful. And, I've been able to pull different things from each of them to kind of build my own philosophy. So, being around Coach Girard for, 10 years as a player and a coach, I learned so much from him. And I'm able to go up at Fort Wayne where they, there's not, I don't know if many people know this, but going into this past season, there's 6-7 mid-major schools in the state of Indiana. And there have been no one in the state mid-major level that have won more total games over those 6 years than Purdue Fort Wayne. So coming from systems of two winners that know how to build cultures of winnings, like I said, I can pull from both of them, but in particular in terms of the schematics, Coach Coffin's really good in terms on the offensive end. He created an offensive juggernaut at the Division I level. Coming into this last season, they were fourth in the country over the last 3 years in points per game, and two of the teams ahead of them were North Carolina and Gonzaga. So pretty good company to be a part of. So just being able to learn from him and see different wrinkles and stuff that he does on the offensive end is something I'm really excited to implement.
Thank you.
Earlier, you talked about Corey Miller Jr. being a potential leader, a guy who played with you at Purdue Fort Wayne and D. Montgomery. What kind of leadership role do you expect him to have, and knowledge of the whatever system you try to implement?
I'm glad you mentioned that last part, because really, some of the drills I'll do offensively and things I implement, D will be able to help me teach. And that's a role of an older guy, an upperclassman, is to teach the younger players and putting yourself out there and not being afraid to put yourself on Front Street. And like I said, he's not going to know everything that we do, because I'm going to have a healthy combination of kind of some stuff that Coach Girard did and some stuff from Fort Wayne. It's going to be a healthy mix. But those things that I do bring from Fort Wayne, I think D can help, bring those other guys along that might not be aware of what I'm trying to explain or show.
Coach, this is Herschel again. I just have a question for you. So you mentioned before that during this process, you were actually doing recruiting for, up in Fort Wayne. How is it going to differ now that you're switching, you're recruiting now that you're the head coach at UIndy? What's going to be your process as far as looking at scouts and things of that nature?
Well, the nice thing is, was pretty involved in the recruiting when I was here at University of Indianapolis, and have a really good understanding of, what it's going to take to win here. But I think finding people who are the right fit at UIndy, obviously I want talented basketball players, that's going to help us win games. But, it's about the institution. It's about the athletic department. And we got to remember those first two priorities, academics and character, so finding someone that fits the totality of what we're looking for at the University of Indianapolis, always keeping that in mind when evaluating, but definitely want to recruit our backyard. The state of Indiana, there's, in my opinion, is the best basketball state in the country. And I want local kids. You look at the past success that we've been able to have recently at the University of Indianapolis, Jimmy King, Trevor Lakes, local guys, Jordash Mavunga, a local guy. We got Ben Nickerson on our roster, Jesse Bingham on our roster. We have local guys. And like I said, not to say that we won't go outside of Indianapolis and the state of Indiana, because we definitely will. I believe in drawing, a 6-hour radius and kind of recruiting Indiana, the 4 surrounding states, and some of kind of the bigger cities, Nashville, Milwaukee, St. Louis. That's kind of going to be our recruiting territory. But definitely it starts in our backyard.
And just a follow-up question to that real quick. You did mention him, Jesse Bingham, who redshirted this past season. How excited are you to, get to coach him, and and what do you think he can bring to the team next season? Well,
not people know this. I was actually when UIndy first started recruiting Jesse, I made initial contact with him, and then I got him through that process, and then I'm actually going up to Fort Wayne. So I already have a really good relationship with Jesse and his dad, And so it was exciting for me, when I leave and I see Jesse becomes an Indiana All-Star and then UIndy signs him, I'm like, wow, that's great. That's such a good accomplishment. Not every time at the Division II level or you get Indiana All-Stars, and there haven't been that many in UIndy's history. So, that's such a huge acquisition for our program. So to see him make a mature decision last year and realize that, hey, he could play, and he probably would have played last year and helped them win, but he had more opportunity down the road if he would have sat back and redshirted with the way the roster looked like. I think that shows maturity about Jesse. When I think mature, intelligent players are going to have a high level of success on the court when you're already as talented as him. So I am excited to work with him for all those levels.
Hey, Paul, can you kind of talk about your plan on getting out in the community and getting people familiar with UIndy?
Yes, it starts first and foremost. If anybody wants me at a school, wants me at an event, just ask. I am 100% obsessed with UIndy men's basketball, UIndy Athletics, and the University of Indianapolis. So I will never turn down any opportunity to get involved, whether it's community service, whether it's just helping out. Our program is going to be friends to the South Side community and the city of Indianapolis as a whole. And I think we provide a very fun, friendly atmosphere to come watch quality basketball. Especially on those conference games on a Saturday afternoon at 3:00. What better to do than to bring your kids, if they like basketball, and come watch good quality kids that are true student athletes, play hard and compete, and have had a history of winning at a pretty high rate.
Paul, I was just curious, how many text messages and phone calls have you gotten in the last
but probably over 400 texts and calls, and I'm not exaggerating. I've tried my best to get back to everyone. And then you take Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that kind of stuff. The outreach and people giving their support has been it's been special, and it's something I'll never forget. It's been really touching.
What kind of challenges are you expecting to have as a first-year head coach?
There's going to be several. The key is too, the main thing is, if I'm going to say, with the current state of things, the current pandemic, I would love to be able to look my guys in the eye and meet them and be there with them, physically present. So this is a challenge. Now, everyone's going through it in the country. I understand. So I'm not going to make excuses, but for a first-year head coach, it's exceptionally challenged because, this whole thing's about relationships and establishing relationships, gaining trust with one another, becoming a true family. Like I said, that family atmosphere, that culture that was established by Coach Gerard, that's not changing. But to be able to hit the ground running with that over Zooms, over phone calls, it is a challenge. But it's something we got to keep working at and developing that, because once we all are able to get together physically when this thing passes, we're going to need to be able to hit the ground running from an academic standpoint, from a basketball standpoint. I think that's going to be a lot easier if we're for one as a unit by the time we get there on campus. So we're going to work really hard at creative ways to establish relationships and build unity and build this foundation in this off season.
Are there any big weak spots you're seeing in the team?
You know what? I don't think so. I think we have enough to win with the guys returning. Like I said, I believe in having been around winning programs, understanding what it takes. That speaks volumes, and we have that with our kids. And our kids have been great. Like, I've been able to talk to them on Zoom. They're all in. They are bought in. And that's what it's all about, and I love the character of this group. So I don't think weaknesses at all. I think that's no, we have a very strong group coming back. And I'm excited to coach them. I really am excited to get on the floor. And I told them, I said, guys, I told them when I met with them, I said, hey, we need to start thinking right now about Final Fours in Minneapolis this year. That's where the Division II Final Four is. And that's my expectation, from a winning standpoint. Compete for GLVC championships, compete for national championships. And you know what? It's easier said than done in year one, but I don't care. I have too much pride in this program, in this athletic department and university for that not to be the expectation. So I said, hey, the only way we're going to get there is if right now we all put our mindset on the Final Four, on the GLVC championship, on all those things. And I told them, I said, if you don't believe in that, then, maybe you shouldn't be on this conference call. And we were on a Zoom, and they were all looked me dead in the eye, and I knew that they were all in. I said, we got to start thinking about that right now today, and if that's going to be a reality. So, no, I don't think there are weaknesses. Now, do we need to bring in some other pieces to help those guys with recruiting? Yes, because it's going to take a team, and, we have some roster spots we still have to fill.
You talk about recruiting and filling in those spots. Do you have any people in mind? I know with the current state that the country's in right now, it's very hard to go out and actually recruit, but do you have people in mind to fill in those gaps?
Yes, I can't really comment on names specifically for, compliance purposes, but definitely I've had some targets, and I'm excited to get on the phone with them. It's going to be a busy weekend for me.
As far as your coaching staff goes, what kind of coaches or at least qualities are you going to be looking for when you start looking towards your assistants?
Well, anybody that we bring into our program, like I said, has to fit UIndy. Okay, and I started to think about, aside from being a talented coach or a talented basketball player, what are those characteristics? And these characteristics are going to have to be in any player I decide to recruit and offer a spot in our program, or anybody I bring on our staff. And in those characteristics, you got to be tough, you got to be talented, you have to be driven, you have to be humble. I'm going to look for those 4 characteristics in people in general. But aside from that, to take it to the next level with the coaches, they have to be mentors. They got to be, coaches that love mentoring kids, that want to help aid in the total development of the person with our student athletes. All right, I want to look for guys that have experience and guys that I can trust.
Paul, you obviously probably haven't had much time to think about it, but maybe how excited are you, if I don't know if that's the right word, about being able to put together your first schedule for this coming winter?
Yeah, this is something I've never done before, and I am excited about it. It's something I've been looking over, and I've seen our GLVC schedule, and it's going to be a fun opening GLVC game against Coach Gerard. Us going up against each other. We talked about that last night. How about us both going back to our alma maters and then facing up in the opening game in GLVC play, and how cool that'll be for the both of us. But the non-conference schedule is going to be critical, because there's several things you got to look at in terms of what the regional committee is going to look for in terms of admitting a team to the NCAA tournament, and that's our goal. So begun through that process. And we're still working through it, but it's something that it's going to be pivotal for our season. That's such an undervalued and underappreciated aspect of building a program and what takes success in a season.
I do have one last question, and this is more of a personal question. You spoke about your coaching, who your mentors were as coaching, but as far as your playing, like when you played basketball, who were players that you looked up to, or who is your favorite basketball player?
That's a tough one. Michael Jordan. I mean, how can you not like him? I've loved last Sunday's ESPN documentary, and I can't wait till this Sunday. So I've watched it twice. I watched it again. I recorded it, and I watched it when I worked out the next day. So I'm a little bit of a basketball junkie when it comes to that kind of stuff. Kobe Bryant, Dwayne Wade, and Reggie Miller. Those by far are the 4 guys that were my guys growing up. And actually one that kind of gets forgotten, my favorite college player that people kind of forget about, and you really have to be a little up in age to know how good this guy was in college, is the current ESPN analyst, Jay Williams. He was my favorite college player to watch.
I want to go back to the scheduling real quick. How important are those exhibition games early in this year, like Stan would play Loyola, Xavier this past season, and teams like that?
It's great when you win them, and it gives great notoriety for the program, and it's awesome for the kids. And I'm a competitor. I want to win in literally everything I do. If we're walking up the street and you say, hey, we're going to speed walk, to that stop sign, I'm going to try to beat you. It's how I'm wired. And I'm sorry, it's how God made me. But, I would try to we're going to try to attack everything we do. And I'll get back to that in a second if you don't mind. We're going to try to attack everything we do, and our expectation is to win. But the important thing of the exhibitions is to figure out your team early. And that'll be important for me too. As a young head coach, is try to figure out my team, figure out, what guys like the ball in what spots, different rotations, and just getting guys comfortable playing together. To me, that's what the exhibitions are about, getting us prepared for the regular season play.
I got one more question for you, Coach. So you talk about, you're a new coach, you're building a new team, but you have a different outlook from the GLVC conference. But how much of a target does that put on your back because you are kind of new in this division or in this conference?
It's I want to call it really a target, but it's the GLVC is the toughest Division II conference in the country. It's the ACC of Division II. I really believe that. Great coaches, great players, fun atmospheres to play in, and like I said, our division is a challenge as well. But like I said, you can't back down from it. And the expectation is that, like I kind of alluded to in the last question, something that I kind of like to bring up in this point is literally two things you're going to hear in our program a lot are the words family and attack. Okay. Family starts with the cultural aspect of it. And I firmly believe in building a family atmosphere. And that's going to be my focus from day one. But once we build that family atmosphere and become a family, we are going to attack every single thing we do. Every single day, every single thing we do, whether it's going to study tables, we're going to make it the best study tables we ever had. If it's in the film room, it's going to be the best film session we ever had. If we're going to weights, it's going to be 10 times better than the weight session we had yesterday. Even if that weight session was the best session we ever had, we're going to attack every single thing we do every single day. We're going to attack every practice. We're going to attack every game prep. We're going to attack every game. We're going to attack every team. Because if that's not our mindset, if we're not chasing perfection, and again, I know perfection is not attainable, but if you chase perfection, excellence is attainable. So if we're going to chase that and we attack every single day, we will have a high probability of success. And I think we can look at ourselves in the mirror at the end of the day and be happy with what we did. But if we aren't willing to do that, and that's not an option in my program, then I don't know what we're even doing here. All right, we are going to attack. We're going to attack the league. We're going to attack every team.
All right. Well, I want to thank everyone again for joining us today. If you'd like more time with Coach Corsaro or, in the coming days or even down the line sometime, just don't hesitate to reach out to me. So everyone have a great weekend. Stay safe out there. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.